The day began like any other in a quiet suburban neighborhood with neatly trimmed lawns and immaculate driveways. But this morning, something unusual was unfolding. A convoy of police cars pulled up in front of a sprawling mansion that looked like it belonged in a movie. The house was a marvel. Stately columns, gleaming windows, and a perfectly manicured garden that seemed to radiate luxury. As neighbors peeked through their blinds and gathered on the sidewalks, their murmurs filled the air. "Who even lives there?" one whispered. "I heard it's someone who doesn't belong," another said, adding fuel to the speculative fire. The center of attention was a composed black woman standing on the mansion's grand porch. She was dressed in a crisp white blazer and matching pants, her poise unshaken despite the growing tension around her. She met the officer's approach with calm authority, but it was clear the police were skeptical. "Ma'am," the lead officer began, his tone clipped, "we have received a complaint about this property. We need to verify your residency and ownership." The woman, unfazed, tilted her head slightly. "And who lodged this complaint?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The officer hesitated, glancing at the house behind her. "That's not important right now. What matters is that you provide proof of ownership. We need to ensure this isn't some misunderstanding." Neighbors leaned in closer, their curiosity piqued. Phones appeared as people began recording, the situation quickly escalating into a spectacle. It wasn't every day that police converged on a mansion, let alone to confront someone who didn't fit their assumptions about who belonged there. "What's the real story here?" one bystander muttered. The woman stood tall, her expression unchanging. "I have nothing to prove to you," she said, holding her ground. "This is my home, and I will not be intimidated." The scene was electrifying. The officer's body language screamed doubt. But the woman's confidence suggested there was much more to the story than met the eye. And as the crowd grew larger, so did the tension. What was the truth behind this stunning mansion? Why were the police so intent on questioning her right to be there? And, most importantly, who was this woman who refused to back down? Stay tuned to uncover the astonishing revelation that would leave everyone speechless. The lead officer gestured for his team to fan out, clearly determined to investigate. The black woman remained on the porch, her expression unwavering despite the growing chaos. Onlookers whispered among themselves, some supportive, others speculative. "Is she really the owner?" one neighbor muttered. "She doesn't look like someone who'd own a house like that." The officer stepped closer, a clipboard in hand. "Ma'am," he said, "if you don't cooperate, we'll have no choice but to proceed with eviction procedures. This property is flagged as abandoned or fraudulently occupied." The woman raised an eyebrow, her posture steady. "Eviction," she repeated, almost amused. "You've clearly made a mistake. This property is neither abandoned nor occupied without permission. I'm the owner, and I have no intention of proving that to you." The officer, visibly irritated, gestured toward the front door. "Then let us inside. If you're the owner, there should be no problem." The woman crossed her arms, her calm demeanor unshaken. "You want to see the inside of my house?" she said, her tone sharp. "Fine, but don't touch a thing." The officer seemed taken aback by her composure, but nodded. "All right, let's go." As the woman led the officers inside, the neighbors gasped. From the outside, the mansion was already a spectacle, but the interior was breathtaking. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and every room exuded sophistication. Expensive artwork adorned the walls, each piece more captivating than the last. One officer paused in front of a portrait hanging prominently in the main hall. It was of the woman, dressed in a regal gown, with a serene expression and an air of undeniable power. This is you," the officer stammered. The woman turned, her gaze piercing. Yes, that's me. In another room, one officer spotted a shelf lined with awards and certificates. Another officer picked up a framed photo showing the woman standing beside a prominent public figure. Wait a minute, the officer muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. Before he could finish, the woman interrupted. You've invaded my privacy enough, she said, her voice firm but measured. Now, what exactly are you looking for? The lead officer's confidence faltered. We're just following up on a report, he said. There's been confusion about ownership records. The woman took a step closer, her eyes narrowing. Confusion? She repeated. Or profiling. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. One of them muttered something under his breath, but the woman wasn't done. Do you treat every homeowner like this, or just the ones who don't fit your assumptions? The room fell silent, the tension palpable. Outside, the murmurs of the crowd grew louder as word of the interior's grandeur spread. She must be someone important, a neighbor whispered. Why would the police even question her? The woman gestured toward the door. You've seen enough, she said. Now, unless you have a warrant or concrete evidence, I suggest you leave. The officers hesitated, clearly unsure how to proceed. Finally, the lead officer nodded, signaling his team to retreat. We'll follow up, he said, his tone subdued. As they stepped back outside, the neighbors erupted with questions, but the officers ignored them, retreating to their vehicles. The woman stood on the porch, watching them leave, her posture as regal as the house itself. Once the police were gone, a reporter from a local news station, who had arrived during the commotion, approached the woman. Excuse me, ma'am, the reporter said. Would you care to comment on what just happened? The woman turned, her expression softening slightly. There's not much to say, she replied, except that people should be judged by their character, not by assumptions. This house is my home. I earned it, and I won't let anyone take that away. The crowd erupted into applause, their earlier skepticism replaced with admiration. The woman's words resonated, a reminder of resilience in the face of bias. But the story wasn't over. The truth about the woman and her mansion would soon come to light, and it would leave everyone in the neighborhood, and beyond, stunned. As the news spread about the incident, the story quickly gained traction. Clips from the scene, captured by bystanders, were shared widely on social media. The hashtag #eMansionMistake began trending, and debates erupted online about bias, privilege, and assumptions based on appearance. The woman, now identified as Dr. Amara Bennett, was no stranger to the public eye, though not everyone initially recognized her. Amara was a self-made entrepreneur and philanthropist, having risen from humble beginnings to become one of the most successful businesswomen in the region. Her companies had provided employment for thousands, and her charity work focused on uplifting underprivileged communities. The mansion wasn't just her home, it was a testament to her hard work and perseverance. A few days after the incident, Amara decided to address the public directly. She held a press conference on the front lawn of her mansion, standing in front of the grand facade with its majestic columns and perfectly manicured gardens. The backdrop was as symbolic as it was stunning, a powerful image of achievement and defiance against stereotypes. As cameras clicked and reporters jostled for position, Amara began her statement. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady and calm. "Thank you all for being here today. I wish it were under better circumstances, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my story." She paused, scanning the crowd. "Last week I experienced what many people face far too often, being judged not for who I am, but for what others assume I must be. When the police came to my door, they didn't see a homeowner. They didn't see a professional or a neighbor. They saw a black woman, and that was enough to cast doubt." Amara's words were met with murmurs of agreement and nods from the crowd. "I've worked hard for everything I have," she continued, her tone firm. "This home represents years of effort, sacrifice, and determination. But more than that, it represents the possibility of breaking barriers and rewriting narratives." She shifted her gaze to the row of reporters, her expression softening slightly. "I'm not sharing this story to seek pity or apologies. I'm sharing it because it's time we confront these biases head-on. It's time to ask ourselves why assumptions like these still exist and what we can do to change them." Amara's speech resonated far beyond her front lawn. Clips of her statement went viral, with many praising her composure and strength. Prominent figures in the business world, along with celebrities and activists, voiced their support. The incident sparked a larger conversation about systemic prejudice and the need for change. But the ripple effects didn't stop there. Within days, the police department issued a public apology to Amara, acknowledging their error and promising to review their protocols to prevent similar incidents. "This was a grave mistake," the statement read. "We regret the distress caused to Dr. Bennett and are committed to ensuring accountability and improvement within our ranks." However, Amara wasn't content with just an apology. She saw an opportunity to create meaningful change and decided to act. Partnering with community leaders and organizations, she launched the Equity Initiative, a program aimed at providing bias training for law enforcement and educating communities on diversity and inclusion. The program quickly gained momentum, attracting attention from national organizations and receiving significant funding from Amara's network of contacts. "This isn't just about me," she said during an interview. "It's about building a future where no one has to face what I did." Meanwhile, Amara's neighbors began to view her in a new light. Some, who had initially questioned her ownership of the mansion, approached her to offer apologies and express their support. Others volunteered to help with the Equity Initiative, inspired by her resilience and vision. One evening, as Amara stood on her porch watching the sunset, a young girl from the neighborhood approached her. Clutching a sketch pad, the girl hesitated before speaking. "Dr. Bennett," she said shyly, "I drew this for you." Amara took the sketch, her heart swelling as she saw the image, a drawing of the mansion with the words, "Home is for everyone," written across the top. "Thank you," Amara said, her voice thick with emotion. "This means so much to me." The girl smiled, her confidence growing. "I want to be like you when I grow up." Amara crouched down to meet the girl's gaze. "You can be anything you want to be," she said, "and I'll be here to help you every step of the way." The incident that began with an unjust assumption had transformed into a powerful movement for change. Amara's mansion was no longer just a symbol of her personal success. It had become a beacon of hope and progress for an entire community. The Equity Initiative rapidly grew in influence, drawing attention from beyond Amara's community. Local news outlets covered her efforts, and soon, national media picked up the story. Amara was invited to speak at conferences, universities, and business forums, sharing her vision of a world where opportunities were not dictated by biases or preconceived notions. The program's training sessions for law enforcement were particularly impactful. Officers attended workshops led by experts on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and Amara often spoke directly to them about her own experiences. "We all carry biases," she told them during one session. "Acknowledging them is not a sign of weakness. It's the first step toward growth and understanding." Many officers admitted that the training challenged their perspectives. Some approached Amara afterward, expressing gratitude and a newfound awareness. "I've never thought about how my actions might come across," one officer confessed. Thank you for helping me see things differently. Amara's initiative also partnered with local schools, creating mentorship programs for students from underrepresented backgrounds. These programs provided not only academic support but also exposure to career opportunities and personal development workshops. Amara personally mentored several young women, encouraging them to dream big and push past societal limitations. One of these mentees was Maya, a high school senior who had struggled to believe in her potential. With Amara's guidance, Maya applied to her dream college and was accepted on a full scholarship. During a community event, she stood on stage beside Amara, sharing her story. Dr. Bennett believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, Maya said, her voice trembling with emotion. Now, I'm ready to change the world. Amara's impact was felt in her immediate community and across the country. Her mansion became a symbol not only of her success, but also of her determination to inspire others and dismantle systemic barriers. Community events hosted on her lawn brought people together, fostering conversations about unity, resilience, and progress. Meanwhile, the officers involved in the initial incident faced accountability. The police department launched a thorough investigation, and changes were implemented to ensure similar mistakes wouldn't happen again. Amara insisted that this wasn't about punishment, but about building a better, fairer system. It's not just about correcting what went wrong, she said in an interview. It's about creating something better for the future. As the Equity Initiative continued to thrive, Amara received invitations to collaborate with other organizations and policymakers. She was instrumental in drafting new guidelines for police conduct, ensuring that bias training became a standard part of law enforcement across the state. Amara's story also inspired other communities to take action. In cities across the country, similar programs were launched, each tailored to address the unique challenges of their regions. Amara's vision had become a blueprint for change, proving that one person's efforts could spark a nationwide movement. Despite her growing influence, Amara remained grounded and approachable. She continued to host community dinners, inviting neighbors to share meals and ideas. During one of these gatherings, she spoke about her journey. "This isn't about me," she said, addressing the crowd. "It's about us. Together, we can build a world where everyone has the chance to thrive." The incident that had once been a source of pain and injustice had become a catalyst for transformation. Amara's mansion, once the focus of doubt and prejudice, now stood as a beacon of hope, inspiring all who passed by. "Home is where we create change," Amara often said. And this is just the beginning. As the Equity Initiative expanded, it began addressing systemic issues that extended beyond law enforcement and into housing, education, and employment. Amara saw these as interconnected struggles that required a comprehensive approach. "Injustice in one area doesn't stay isolated," she explained during a local town hall. "It seeps into every corner of life, and we must address the whole picture." One key effort was a program called Pathways to Prosperity, which provided job training and placement services for marginalized communities. Partnering with local businesses, the program focused on equipping participants with the skills needed to secure stable, well-paying jobs. Amara personally attended the program's launch event, where she met participants eager to start fresh. One such participant, Malik, shared his story with Amara. After being laid off during an economic downturn, Malik had struggled to find consistent work due to discriminatory hiring practices. Through Pathways to Prosperity, he not only found a job, but also regained his confidence and sense of purpose. "You gave me my life back," he told Amara with tears in his eyes. His gratitude further fueled her determination to keep pushing for change. Another area of focus was affordable housing. Amara worked with city officials to create a task force that tackled predatory practices in housing markets, ensuring equitable opportunities for all residents. She used her own resources to establish a fund that provided assistance to families facing eviction. For Amara, it wasn't just about advocacy, but also about taking action where it mattered most. One family saved by the program was the Martinez family, who had been days away from losing their home. During a community event, Mrs. Martinez spoke about the impact of Amara's work. "We had lost hope," she said, her voice breaking. "But because of this initiative, my children have a roof over their heads and a future to look forward to." Amara's influence grew as her initiatives gained national attention. She was invited to the state capitol to speak before lawmakers about the importance of addressing systemic inequality. Her speech, broadcast across multiple networks, was a powerful call to action. "We cannot wait for change to happen. We must create it ourselves," she declared, her words resonating with millions. At the same time, her work continued to transform her community. The Equity Initiative organized neighborhood beautification projects, turning neglected areas into vibrant spaces filled with art, gardens, and gathering spots. These projects brought people together and fostered a sense of pride and ownership. One notable transformation was an old, abandoned playground that had become a symbol of neglect. With funding from the initiative and the help of countless volunteers, it was revitalized into a thriving park. On the day of its reopening, children played on the new equipment, their laughter filling the air. Amara, watching from a distance, felt a profound sense of fulfillment. "This is what progress looks like," she said quietly. Despite her growing responsibilities, Amara never lost touch with her roots. She continued to mentor young people, sharing her story to inspire them. One of her mentees, Jada, was a high school senior who aspired to become a civil rights attorney. Amara's guidance and encouragement helped Jada earn a scholarship to a prestigious university. "I wouldn't be here without you," Jada told her during a tearful farewell. "You've shown me what's possible." Meanwhile, the police department underwent significant reforms as a result of the incident with Amara. New policies emphasized accountability, transparency, and community engagement. Officers participated in regular cultural competency training, and an independent review board was established to oversee misconduct investigations. Amara played an active role in these changes, providing insights from her personal experiences. The officers who had wronged Amara faced consequences. While some were dismissed, others underwent extensive retraining and were required to engage in community service. Amara insisted that these measures were not about retribution, but about creating a better system. "We can't change the past," she said, "but we can shape the future." Amara's mansion, once a flashpoint of misunderstanding, became a hub of activity and hope. The expansive lawn hosted regular community events, from workshops to cultural festivals. One memorable evening, a jazz concert brought together residents from all walks of life. As the music played, Amara stood among her neighbors, feeling the unity and joy that had grown out of adversity. Her story became a symbol of resilience and determination, inspiring others to take action in their own communities. Letters poured in from across the country, many from people who had faced similar challenges. One letter from a young woman in Michigan read, "Your strength gives me the courage to fight for my rights. Thank you for showing us what's possible." Amara's impact also extended internationally. She was invited to participate in global conferences on equity and inclusion, sharing her insights and learning from others. Through these experiences, she realized the universal nature of her mission. "Injustice doesn't recognize borders," she said during a keynote address. Our fight for equity must be as boundless as the challenges we face. Amara's journey from a moment of humiliation to a movement of transformation was a testament to the power of perseverance and vision. She turned her pain into purpose, inspiring countless others to do the same. Her work reminded everyone that true change begins at the community level, but has the potential to ripple across the world. As the years passed, Amara's initiatives continued to grow, creating lasting change in the lives of many. Her mansion stood as a beacon of hope, a reminder that, even in the face of adversity, progress is possible when people come together with determination and compassion. Amara's rise as a community leader also brought attention to the root causes of systemic inequality. She used her platform to address not just the symptoms, but the deeply ingrained structures that perpetuated injustice. The Equity Initiative expanded its focus to include educational reform, healthcare access, and support for small businesses owned by marginalized communities. One of the most ambitious projects launched by the initiative was a scholarship program for underprivileged students. Amara believed that education was the key to breaking cycles of poverty and inequality. The program provided financial assistance, mentorship, and internship opportunities to deserving students. It quickly gained traction, with dozens of young people benefiting in its first year alone. During one ceremony to honor the scholarship recipients, Amara spoke passionately about the importance of investing in the next generation. When we lift each other up, we create a ripple effect that touches countless lives, she said. Among the recipients was a young man named Daniel, who had dreams of becoming a doctor. "This scholarship is my chance to make a difference," he told the audience, his voice filled with hope. Amara also turned her attention to healthcare disparities. She partnered with local clinics and hospitals to offer free health screenings and wellness programs in underserved areas. At one such event, she met Mrs. Jenkins, a retired teacher who had been struggling with untreated diabetes. Through the initiative, Mrs. Jenkins received the care she needed. "You've saved my life," she told Amara with tears in her eyes. Another significant effort was supporting small businesses in the community. Amara understood the importance of economic empowerment and worked tirelessly to create opportunities for entrepreneurs. She organized workshops on business development, secured grants for startups, and advocated for fair lending practices. One success story was that of Lena, a single mother who turned her passion for baking into a thriving bakery. "I never thought I'd own my own business," Lena shared at the grand opening. "Amara believed in me when no one else did." As the Equity Initiative grew, so did Amara's influence. She was invited to speak at national conferences and appeared on major media outlets, sharing her story and advocating for systemic change. Despite the growing spotlight, she remained grounded, always emphasizing the collective effort behind her success. "This isn't about me," she often said. "It's about all of us working together to create a better future." However, with increased visibility came new challenges. Critics questioned her motives, accusing her of seeking personal gain. Some even tried to undermine her efforts, spreading false rumors and sowing division. Amara faced these attacks with grace and determination. "When you're fighting for what's right, resistance is inevitable," she told her team. "But we won't let it stop us." One particularly heated confrontation occurred during a city council meeting, where Amara was advocating for affordable housing policies. A prominent developer opposed her proposals, arguing they would hurt the economy. Amara stood her ground, presenting data and personal stories that highlighted the need for change. Her calm yet firm demeanor won over many in the room, and the council ultimately voted in favor of the policies. Amara's efforts also began to inspire others to take action in their own communities. People from all walks of life reached out to her, seeking guidance on how to create similar initiatives. She took time to mentor aspiring leaders, sharing lessons from her journey and encouraging them to stay true to their values. One such leader was Marcus, a young activist from a neighboring city. He visited Amara to learn about the Equity Initiative and left inspired to start a similar program in his community. Months later, he invited Amara to speak at the launch of his initiative. "You showed me what's possible," Marcus said during the event. "Now it's my turn to make a difference." Amara's work also began to bridge divides, fostering understanding and collaboration between different groups. She organized community dialogues where people from diverse backgrounds could share their experiences and find common ground. These events often ended with participants hugging and exchanging contact information, a testament to the power of connection. One memorable dialogue brought together residents from a predominantly Black neighborhood and officers from the local police department. The conversation started tense, with participants airing their grievances and frustrations. But as the evening progressed, walls began to come down. By the end, there was a shared commitment to building trust and working together for a safer community. Despite the progress, Amara never forgot the incident that had sparked her journey. She often revisited the mansion, now a bustling hub of activity and hope. Walking through its halls, she felt a profound sense of purpose. "This place was once a symbol of misunderstanding," she said during a community gathering. "Now it's a symbol of what we can achieve when we refuse to give up." Amara's mansion became a destination for visitors from across the country who wanted to learn from her story. Guided tours showcased the history of the Equity Initiative, highlighting key milestones and the people who had made it possible. Each room told a story, from the struggles of the early days to the triumphs that followed. The mansion also hosted an annual gala to raise funds for the initiative. The event brought together community members, local leaders, and supporters from afar. During one gala, Amara shared a heartfelt message with the audience. "This journey has taught me that change is possible, even in the face of overwhelming odds," she said, "but it requires all of us to play our part." As Amara's impact continued to grow, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From a moment of humiliation to a movement of transformation, her story was a testament to the power of resilience and community. She had turned adversity into an opportunity to create lasting change, proving that even the most daunting challenges could be overcome. Her work reminded everyone that true progress comes from unity, compassion, and the unwavering belief that a better world is possible. Amara's journey was far from over, but she knew she wasn't walking it alone. Together with her community, she was building a future where justice and equity were not just ideals, but realities. The police officers, who initially carried an air of authority and superiority, now stood in awkward silence. As the truth unraveled, that the mansion they tried to evict the Black woman from was not only hers, but a testament to her resilience and hard work. An air of disbelief filled the scene. News quickly spread about the incident. Neighbors and passers-by who had gathered outside were captivated by the twist. One of the officers, clearly shaken by the turn of events, managed to stammer, "We're sorry for the misunderstanding." But their apology felt hollow in the face of what had just occurred. The woman, however, chose grace over retaliation. Her calm demeanor reflected strength and composure as she stated, "This house is more than just brick and mortar to me. It represents everything I've overcome. Perhaps next time you'll approach situations with more respect and less assumption." Her words resonated deeply with everyone present. As she returned inside, the officers left the scene, clearly embarrassed and humbled. Meanwhile, the crowd outside erupted in applause, cheering on her courage and poise. News reporters who had caught wind of the situation arrived on the scene, and soon the story began to trend online. The video of the incident, captured by a witness, became a rallying cry against prejudice and assumption. The comments were flooded with support for the woman and demands for accountability from the police. Many praised her strength, saying, "She handled it like a queen." In just hours, her story had gone viral, sparking conversations about implicit bias and the importance of treating everyone with dignity. But for the woman, it wasn't about the fame. It was about standing tall in the face of adversity. The aftermath of the incident rippled far beyond the gates of the mansion. As the story gained traction on social media and local news, it sparked a broader conversation about assumptions, systemic bias, and the importance of compassion over judgment. Support poured in for the woman from all corners of the community and beyond. Neighbors who had once remained distant reached out, expressing admiration for her poise and offering their solidarity. "You've inspired us all," one neighbor said, during an impromptu gathering outside the mansion a few days later. "Your strength reminds us that change starts with moments like these." Organizations advocating for social justice used the story as a powerful example of why education on unconscious bias is crucial. "This is not just one person's battle," said one activist in a televised interview. "It's a societal issue, and it's time we address it head on." The woman, humbled by the overwhelming support, decided to use her platform to promote positive change. She collaborated with local groups to host discussions and workshops aimed at fostering understanding and breaking down stereotypes. "We can't change the past," she said during a televised segment, "but we can shape the future." The police department, under immense public scrutiny, announced an internal review of the officers involved and their protocols. "We acknowledge our mistakes," the department's spokesperson said at a press conference. "We are committed to rebuilding trust with our community." But for the woman, the true victory wasn't in the apologies or the viral fame. It was in knowing that her story had ignited a spark for change, however small. As she stood on her balcony, looking out at the vibrant community that had rallied behind her, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Let this be a reminder," she shared in an emotional post later that evening. "Never let anyone make you feel less than you are. Stand firm, speak your truth, and always rise above." As the dust settled, the woman's story became a symbol of resilience and a reminder of the power of truth. Local media continued to highlight her journey, showing how one moment of injustice transformed into an opportunity for education and progress. The mansion, once seen as a source of speculation, became a hub of positivity. The woman hosted open events, from charity dinners to cultural festivals, inviting the community to come together and share their stories. "This house is more than just walls," she said during one event. "It's a space for connection and understanding." The officers involved faced disciplinary action after an internal investigation revealed their biases and procedural failings. The department introduced new training programs, emphasizing empathy and cultural awareness. A public apology followed, with the chief acknowledging that systemic change was necessary to rebuild trust. The woman's story inspired countless people across the country. Letters poured in from strangers, thanking her for standing up and sharing her truth. "You've shown us all the strength of grace under pressure," one letter read. She often shared these notes during her talks, using them to encourage others to persevere through their struggles. Over time, her actions led to tangible change. The community formed a task force to address issues of discrimination and promote equity. Local schools introduced workshops for students on inclusivity and respect. The woman herself became a sought-after speaker, traveling to share her message of empowerment and resilience. Looking back, she reflected on how one harrowing day had redefined her life and those around her. Standing in front of her mansion, now filled with laughter and purpose, she smiled. "This isn't just my victory," she said. "It's a win for all of us who believe in fairness, dignity, and the power of standing together. As her story continued to inspire, she ended her journey with a heartfelt call to action. What would you do if faced with injustice? Share your thoughts below and let's keep this conversation going. Together, we can make a difference.